Welcome back to another episode of Wellness Talks with Lolo. I am so excited today to bring to you our second guest of the podcast, Miss Ashley Reece. She is a friend of mine from way back when, and she is a busy mom of two girls, a business owner, WBFF bikini fitness pro athlete, entrepreneur, and a woman driven with passion and purpose to help others reach their fullest potential. Today, we're going to discuss restarting life after leaving narcissistic abuse and how she overcame adversity while raising two kids, surviving physical manifestations of stress, and staying strong as an independent business owner. This Phoenix is here to stand for all you moms out there, restoring wellness and rebuilding life. Stay tuned. If you were ever in a toxic relationship, you know how messed up your entire body and nervous system can be when you get out. That's why getting out is just the first step to truly being free. Join me each week as we talk about various holistic wellness solutions to restore your well-being, build a healthy and thriving life, and form new healthy relationships after getting away from someone that never deserved you in the first place. Come on, my beautiful flock. Y'all rise up like the empowered phoenix you are and show the world your colors. Welcome, Ashley. Thank you so much for coming and chatting with us today.
Oh, thank you. I love it. I'm so excited to be here.
Yay! I'm happy to have you here. I feel like your story is so relatable to so many people that are listening to this podcast, women that have been through a toxic relationship, moms, whether it's abusive or if it's a spouse or, a colleague or a boss or what have you, and being a mom, right? Being a mom and going through all of this and coming out on the other side, burning with passion, right? Rising up out of the ashes of that crappy situation. And look at you
Mhm.
now.
Yes, yes. Well, thank you. Thank you for that. Like, first and foremost, I'm so thankful and honored that we are connecting on this level and to be here in this podcast with you is such an honor. And just having the open invitation to help others kind of move through adversity and hardship and trauma, but really like even like your phoenix is rising, like the lotus flower, it comes through the most adverse times, and it is such a beautiful flower when it blooms. So thank you for this opportunity, and I'm excited just to share and care as much as we can do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love it. So let me first start by asking you, in your introduction, I mentioned, or we mentioned, WBFF Bikini Fitness Pro Athlete. That's hard for me to even say. Can you first tell us what that is? So in case there's anybody that knows what it is, and like, oh my goodness, I know her. Or
Yes,
just
yes, I
share
would
what it
love
is.
to. It is a mouthful for sure. WBFF stands for World's Beauty Fit and Fashion. It is a fitness affiliation. There's several different other ones out in the world, like NPC, IBFF, that like for people that are fitness competitors, they kind of know that terminology. But WBFF is one that I resonate with so wonderfully because it's just about overall wellness. Like they don't want you to kind of just get so lean down and striated and like not really as healthy as you really should be, even though you're supposed to look really healthy. It's just overall wellness, lifestyle, but you still have a certain look to you. I mean, it's definitely something hard to achieve. It's part of the 0.1% of the world that you're affiliated with in this organization. And so last year in Vegas, I was able to receive my pro card, and these are against women that are the top tiers all over the world. And so it's such a great dream come true. I didn't even realize kind of what it was doing and happening until after I did it, because it was just kind of like a mission I had to complete. And then now again, coming up here in August, I'm going for the title as a pro now, going against the pros. So to me, it's a fellowship thing. I get to go and pray and lead and get to meet these women from all over the world, different countries, Netherlands, Australia, Austria, Dubai, Asia. And that's just the fellowship, right? So God just uses us in different ways. And now I'm seeing how my years of dance class have paid off, turning pain into power and purpose is what I'm all about. So when I found this organization, I just fell in love with it because it was like my happy place of like all the things that brought me childhood joy in an adult arena, you know. So yeah, it's a great honor to represent the company in that way as well.
That is the best. Isn't it so cool when you get to, as an adult, do things that actually make you happy, that makes you
I
feel like a kid again?
I know. It's that childlike just happiness, and as you just kind of protect it, but it's just so sacred to you at the same time, you know.
Yeah, yeah. You mentioned that there was a lot of wellness built into that whole arena, and that's something that we talk a lot about in this podcast is just holistic wellness. That's what I educate on, and bringing the fullness of all the different areas of our life, right? And we, for you, you had mentioned in one of our conversations in the past that you had encountered, we're going to kind of jump around a little bit because I want to dive right into stress and how you have seen stress show up and how it has manifested physically at any point. Can you speak a little bit to how that has affected you physically? Like, so in your performance, in your stage presence or whatever, in your fitness and in the working out of what it is that you do with stress and the relationships in your life, can you draw a picture for us of how that has kind of manifested in different ways over time?
Oh, 100%. First out, starting off being a single mom raising two little blessings, you have to get really good at delegating and managing things for the children. And when going through different relationship struggles, especially narcissistic abuse, like I know we've talked over in the past, it's just you have to learn how to compartmentalize everything so you can show up as your full self for your children. And I found at an early stage that if I could get up early and work out and create some endorphin release and get some positive energy kind of going, that was a great outlet for me. And that's also a time in fitness where you're kind of working out and you're processing. You have that alone time to kind of hear your own thoughts versus the children when they're up or clients or whomever else you're working with. And so that kind of started the pivotal point because I was kind of turning pain into power, empowering myself through that healing process. And then as I started kind of going down the road a little bit more, and getting my hormones checked and getting my blood work monitored for these fitness shows and different stuff like that, I literally saw how certain interactions with certain people with certain personality traits that I was very familiar to from past trauma, like would make my cortisol spike up, make my blood work, my thyroid, stress my thyroid out. Like you would definitely see the markers. And then when I got rid of some of those different personality types and just relied basically back on what my own knowledge was on certain fields, I saw my healthy, thriving thyroid. I saw my cortisol levels drop. I saw my B12 go back to normal, like production. Because a lot of people don't know this, that B12 is naturally produced in your stomach. And so when you're stressed and you're high stress, it lowers its production. So that's where we get more tired. And then the cortisol goes up. So that's when you get inflamed. And so you're walking around like a hot mess express because one thing is stealing from another to try to make you go through life. And so I've learned different modalities and techniques and things like eating, especially how to kind of cover that. It would love to make my body thrive and strive the best way possible in that time period, which I try to share with as many people like you do with healing and breath work and all the different fundamentals. It's just like a whole big world globe of proactive care. Like it should be essential. And I find that if more people are aware by us like sharing it with other people, then you really could live your best life possible. But you just have to be like someone has to come across a podcast or come across a book or a friend, tell them, hey, try this breath work. It might help manage your stress. Or have you had your blood work checked? So many of my clients come in and they will talk about how they feel a certain way. And I'm like, have you had your hormones checked yet? I mean, some of these people are personal trainers that look like they're in the optimal health and their testosterone is like 20 and they're like look and are young, you know what I'm saying? And like people don't realize that women still need testosterone and we need a good amount of levels of it because usually our estrogen's high, our cortisol's high, and there's like a whole science behind it. And I think I love that part with like the skincare part of what I do in my business as well. It's like a science kind of thing,
Yeah.
but you definitely can see that physically, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's exactly what I wanted to hear because that is something that we don't think about a lot. Um, I feel like it's underrated is the just I think it's common to say I'm stressed out. It's common to say or I have PTSD, or I was in a toxic relationship and there's a lot of stress from that. Or, it's stressful going to work. It's stressful doing this, that, the other. Stress, the word, I think we use it a lot, but how often do we really think about the connection between how it shows up in our life and what it's actually doing to our bodies? What exactly are some other things that you do? You said you're a business owner, and what is it that you do exactly aside from the WBFF? So talk to us a little bit about all the things that you do.
Okay, yes. Well, I am a licensed esthetician and I've been one for over 20 years now, as well as a business owner for a little over around the same time, probably about 25 years. I started my first business when I was 17. I'm 41 now. I've opened and started many businesses since then, and I found a business model with this certain company, and a lot of people have heard of it. It's a nutrition company, Juice Plus. It's Whole Foods. I love their business model, and I basically duplicated that almost 6 or 7 times with my own business. And what a lot of people don't realize is a lot of people are in direct sales, whether it is clothing, advice, skin products, skin treatments, whatever, but people get so held up by their stinking thinking, right? So it's until we can educate them that they can get that awareness. And when I see something that works, I just duplicate it. Like the women in the Bible, it says a woman is to multiply, right? So when it's good, we're going to multiply it. And that's what I do. So what I could see with doing my skin treatments on my client is there was a culprit of what they were eating wasn't working right. Like I couldn't get them to eat healthy and that was showing up on their skin. So then I realized, okay, well, I became a not a life coach, but a health coach, Dr. Sears Institute. And so once I got that on board with my practice, probably about 10 or 15 years ago, I realized that if I could get them to eat better, then it made my skin treatments be more proactive. And then they started them mentally getting more clear. And so it just kind of just started to just steamroll from that. But what a lot of people also don't realize is that we carry oxidative stress in our body. And if it doesn't have an outlet, it just stores like an angry little monster inside and just feeds the inflammation, the cortisol, all the things that are negative in us. But guess what the outlet is? Fruits and vegetables. When
Hmm.
it has the proper nutrition, and God made us that way. So I feel like I always try to educate people and get us back to the garden in which God intended us to eat from in the first place, because all those precious fruits, vegetables, vine ripened berries, all those things have the ingredients that will heal our body, mind, and spirit in so many ways. But we're kind of like pre-programmed by the world and the government. And this is a big conversation platform, and I'll keep it short. But it's like a lot of people believe in supplementation. Like, I mean, there is a certain amount if it's a deficiency, but like if you can, I always educate getting it from a whole food, because then your body automatically recognizes it and it automatically processes it as a food versus a supplement. Because a supplement, you're only going to get and absorb maybe 30%. And then like we're all walking around with expensive pee. Whereas if
Hmm.
we actually flood our body with that, we will really cut down our inflammation in so many ways. So I really educate that with I'm just a nerd on so many different fields. And it's also to me just a ministry. Whatever the modality is, I somehow get it back to Jesus and nutrition, but I'll just take it wherever I can get it. But I just truly love what I do about that because you're helping someone. And when you can get to that nutrition platform, I feel like you're not just meeting them for a skin service or say a massage or Pilates class. You're getting on that other heartstring of like you really care how their children eating? Do they suffer from ADHD? Do they suffer from like fits and tantrums and stuff? A lot of people don't realize how much that food really does cause the issues with that. And we're overworked and underfed in a way
Exactly.
of like good food. We're overfed bad food because the world wants us on a pill for everything because then they can control us.
Exactly.
You
I
know,
am
so we
there
have
a
to be
thousand percent.
advocates. Yes, we have to be advocates for us. And so more people like that are like-minded with passion and purpose. Like I get so fired up about this is because like my pastor was talking about it on Sunday. Us believers have to fuel and power up other leaders so that we can make waves in this world that's being so over dominated, you know?
Mhm.
Sorry, I get on
Yeah.
my soapbox very easy when it comes to
It's
that.
okay. It's fine. It's fine.
So I mean,
That's what we're here for.
yeah, I mean, I have a skincare business. I have an e-commerce site that do an online clothing line. I have a makeup line. I do coaching for, fitness competitors and posing, but as well as for I really love doing families, like just the everyday type person that wants to just get healthier lifestyle. I bring in now that my kids are teenagers. I have found myself doing a lot of teen athletes because they are misconstrued, especially boys on football teams. They think that they need to eat pizza and chicken and up their, but that's not healthy. So just a whole education platform on that, and it just really and it connects me with people like you because I can bring them into my world and be like, hey, go to her for this because we can't do it all. But I like to find people that can do what I can't do. And then I create like a whole pretty much kind of like not a co op, but like a referral program or a camaraderie of colleagues
Network.
that I can refer. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. And it's likewise, that's why I wanted you on this show so that we could, show the world that there are so many components to rebuilding our life. There's so
Mm-hmm.
many components that I was writing an email this morning that wellness and healing, it's not linear, and it's a whole thing. It's a whole package. It's, so many different dimensions, and nutrition and physical fitness and physical wellness and just being that inflammation and all that. That is a huge component of it, and where one piece is missing, the other pieces try to overcompensate. And I'm like you, I can get on a soapbox too. So
Mm-hmm.
let's kind of tie it back in to, okay, we have this enterprise. I'm going to call you an enterprise. We have this enterprise, right, of holistic wellness and balance and healing and growth and repair. Where does that show up in your storyline? So you started at 17 and with, building a business and everything. At what point did you were in a narcissistic marriage, a marriage with a narcissistic abuser, right? And what part did that play in the story for you? Because one of the things that we were talking about too is just raising the kids and overcoming that adversity. So we're kind of circling back around to this piece of it is how did that affect you and how did you overcome it?
Okay, yeah, that is a great question and statement. So let's see, this would be my 8th year out of it. I was 7 years in it. And I like to say, even though I went through such adversity during that relationship, I will, of course, cover it with love and say thank you for being such a difficult human being for me to learn the character traits of, because what it did was it drove me that much harder. Because when you live with someone that's constantly putting you down and is your biggest naysayer and wants you to be like the bottom feeder of the earth, it's gonna it just I realized when I had my 2 kids and that we were like couldn't pay for trash service or for TV service and I was like it was just like that was not going to change. So it put fire in me. I was like, if I wanted something different, I had to do it myself. And so I dug deep, pulled up you know, my big girl panties, and I was like, okay, I have to find a way to do this. And that's where I started diversifying my incomes in business. And thankfully, that's where the nutrition component came in because I needed my 2 kids were young. I found the component when I was coming off of nursing when Skylar, my youngest, was 7 months old, and she's now 11. Sorry, I was getting for a minute, 11, and my oldest is now 14. But my oldest at the time was like 3.5. So I had a 7 month old and a 3.5 year old, and I was single mom in it, just pumping it as much as I could and trying to make a living for them. But I knew they needed to be healthy because when you put them in daycare and you're working, it's really hard, and so that just drove me to kind of be seeking different things. And luckily I found like this wonderful woman to come in my life, and she had been there, done that, got a t-shirt, done all the things, and she was just started sharing a lot of things with me. And that's when I realized, oh my gosh, like other women are probably in the same shoes as me, and they're suffering behind the scenes, so then I kind of just started networking, as in not like we call it networking now, but it's like I was socializing with people either at the gym, church, or home. Those are the three places I went. There was no social media, there was no like things like that. It was all meet and greet, face to face in the gym when I was doing my life or whatever. And coming through that adversity, just always thinking that they didn't believe in you, or you couldn't do this, or yeah, right, you can't do that. I was like, watch me, I'm gonna do it. And I did it. And I went to this one women's conference one time here locally, and this lady had all these things. Like she had a radio station, like a podcast, a book, all these things. And it was a wonderful conference. And this lady was like, you see every one of those projects, that's me getting on top of my pain. And that was kind of like a great eye opener for me, because I was there because I had a book and it was for other authors. But like every project I have is me kind of getting on top of my pain. But it was kind of, instead of victimizing myself, which I think is very important to bring up here, because so many women make themselves a victim, even though we all were a victim. I never ever owned the fact that I was a victim. I said, I'm gonna be a victor in Christ. And so that was kind of where I went with that. And I was like, oh, well, we need trash service, we need dance lessons, then I'm going to go create a new avenue to bring in more money so that I can go put my child in that. And so that's what kind of started me putting different buckets and putting things in different buckets, because you never want to sell yourself short. And I'll tie that back around with what you were saying earlier about physical attributes when we were talking about blood work, and how being with someone that's so negative and just so like hurtful to your spirit. I developed a tumor in my ear, and that was back in 2015. And my ear doctor said it was the biggest he's ever had to work on. And thank God it was benign, but they had to like shave my head, take my ear off, reconstruct my ear canal, put my ear back on. And at that time, my kids were young, and I had to reprogram my whole brain on how to process sounds. Like I would cry coming out of a grocery store. I would cry coming out of anything, like hearing a car horn beep, hearing the doorbell. Like my kids sounded like Mickey and Minnie Mouse. I had to rehear and learn them. And that it was like a big traumatic thing. And so once I got through that, I mean, because I had just done a fitness show that hit me. I lost like 10 or 15 pounds, which is a lot when I'm so tall. And I didn't even realize I had lost that weight because I was just trying to survive, raising kids, paying the bills. Like I was so messed up in my head from the pain, because it was like vertigo times a million. I accidentally paid my car payment twice that 1 month in December. And I didn't even know how I had the funds to do that at that time. But God knew that I needed that to happen, because that 1 month I was healing, I would need that little bit of cushion, and I was thankful that I said yes to other opportunities with the nutrition platform to kind of bring that extra in and to get that guidance. Like I wasn't afraid to say I need help, and to see somebody else come in and be like, let me help you. And I said, yes, please. Like so many people get so full of themselves or full of ego or pride or whatever. I will humble myself and tell people at any point, let me help you. I was that person too, and that's why I want to help you, And I think that's very, very important, because my doctor, like coming out of it, he's like, you healed 75% faster than anybody else that I've done. What have you been doing? And I was like, it has to be the nutrition. And get this, the shape of the tumor that they removed out of my head was in the shape of a heart.
Stop.
That is the interesting thing, right? And so whenever I got through that, I was like, I will never, because a lot of my girlfriends are in like the beauty business or massage or fitness, and even some medical people, but it's just like no one ever teaches you about diversifying your income and educating these women on just putting things in different baskets. You have to be prepared, because if your arm is chopped off, if you break your arm, you can't do hair, you can't massage, you couldn't, like, I was crawling up the stairs of my work trying to do lashes on people and stuff like that, you know? And so I don't ever want that for anybody else if I can help save them a step, you know? And that's kind of where I even more so got into proactive care, like healing myself. You know, you really can change your DNA of your body. So many people think, oh, well, my mom had heart problems, I'm gonna have heart problems. That is like 10% genetic. Like, you really can change your outcome by the way you feed and fuel yourself. So
Absolutely.
I mean, I'm like a big can of worms. One hot mess express is what my girlfriend used to call me. But I feel that it's used to make the story relatable. You know what I'm saying? Because I've worked hard. And with the fitness thing, when it came all the way back around, like I tell people, like every muscle in my body is a mountain I had to climb over. You know, and I just had to keep building it and keep building it. But that compound effect paid off, you know, and it was the only thing I could think that was positive that I could pour my energy into that wouldn't be negative, like hurtful to me. You know what I mean? It just helped me be a better mom, better clarity, and then duplicate that with my kids and other people around them, you know. So your relationships affect you, and what people say, words, they take root. You know, you plant that seed. Like nowadays, I'm like, I really guard it. I'm like, don't let anybody say something negative necessarily. Please don't say that around me. I'm sorry. Like, I just really guard my personal space, you know, because those seeds will take root and you don't want anybody to water them, you know?
Yeah. 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 That's powerful.
Yeah.
All of that. And that's exactly why I wanted you to come on, because your story is so powerful. And I did not know that about the ear. That
Yes.
that was news. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I think that was when we were both in church at the same time, and
Yeah.
you were going through yours and I was going through my storm at the same time, because I mean, that was a unique situation where the people of the church came and took care of me and
Mm.
fed me. And I mean, I remember coming to the door and just sitting on my baby, you know, those little kids step stools that they use to like brush their teeth or something. Like, I would sit on the little, it was like probably a Rapunzel one or something. I'd sat on that while these people of the church came in and prepared the food for me and my children to eat, because that's what God does. He takes care of his people, and he will send strangers that you don't even know to like help you out, you know? And I just love that. I think it's such a beautiful thing.
Yes, definitely. And I'm so glad you had that. And the everything that you just shared, from the not being able to pay the bills to um, you made a statement that I need to pay the bills, so I'm going to go find a way to make an avenue for that to come in. And I feel like that is like the epitome of the lotus and the phoenix, is it not? I feel like that is one of like the pinnacle of what we're talking about. And I'd love that story so
That
much.
gives me goosebumps. I actually had a girlfriend. I love these little beaded bracelets, and she gave me her bracelet one day, and we were coming back from a conference, and it was a lotus one. It was a black wobble beads with little amethyst little beads, and it had a little lotus thing on there. She goes, "Ashley, this is yours." And I was just like, no one had ever given me stuff like that. And I love sentimental stuff. And it comes from a local person here that makes the jewelry, and she'll put a little like intention on it. And I just love it because I use those as little like mantras or whatever you want to say over your day. People verbalize it differently, but you know, it was just a very cute sentiment gift. And so now I give those to people and they're really touched because I just feel like it's made from the heart, you know?
Absolutely. I love that. That's really cool. I need one of those.
I know you might get one after this.
Um, wow, we have covered a lot, and we didn't bring a whole lot about just covering the kids, but you talked about being able to put them in the things that they wanted to do. And is there anything extra that you want to speak to about just being a mom during this time?
I will. I had to tap into all my resources, and my youngest child, Skylar, we found out when she was 4 that from the daycare they do hearing screenings, hearing tests, and she failed. She has bilateral hearing damage in both ears and wears hearing aids. At that point, we did not know, but thankfully now they teach sign language to young kids just to learn to communicate, like eat and drink and stuff like that. So we were communicating, just kind of, I thought, helping her learn how to talk, and then that led us to Chapel Hill here in North Carolina. And the women there were like angels. They set me up with like an IEP, like people that give her speech therapy and resources. And I definitely put the kids in play therapy. Like as soon as, like, before I even filed for divorce, I had them in play therapy. They're still in therapy to this day, twice a month when they come from their dad's house, because I wanted to introduce someone to them as their safe haven other than me. And we all know in the legal system, it can't always be the mother. It has to be somebody else that's looking to be an advocate for the children. And I know when I was growing up in my teens, having a therapist, I loved it because I just felt a relief, like just getting it off. That kind of is what I was so thankful to kind of even bridge the gap here with a podcast, because I think me even just doing them are helpful to me because it's a pour out. And as women, that's how we heal. We're communicators. That's how we do it. So getting the children play therapy, resources, being in some kind of activity, being involved in churches, vacation Bible schools, having a community, because so many people will quickly say, I don't have anybody. You can be a product of your excuses, or let your excuses be the reason why you do things. I always say, let your why be your reason. Because I have kids, because I work hard, because I have no friends, I need to go find a church, find a community, find a workout group, whatever it is that you like to do. Nowadays, you can do it on social media, on Facebook groups or Instagram. There's so many different platforms for that. Like even the MOPS group was great. And I did that for mama preschoolers. I did that, and it was interesting because they were all stay-at-home moms, and I was a working mom, and they lived through me and I lived through them. And it was a fun thing. And that was kind of how our church was that I went to with you. It was the same difference. But I realized that it had to be a calling to be kind of like a stay-at-home mom and be able to be a homeschool mom and all that. And I had to work. And so that's when I kind of bridged the gap. I was like, well, if I can't be there with them to teach them, I want them to be in a Christian-based school. So that was my goal, to work. Once I got my immediate bills made, I used one other stream of income to pay for the schools. And a lot of people don't realize schools have grants for single moms that are doing it. And then basically, so how that works is, for two kids, you pay basically the price of one, which ironically, how God works, is the same price of daycare, guys. So if you want it, you can have it. You just have to ask, believe, and receive, and be resourceful. You have to be resourceful.
Exactly. That's a great closer. Like, what a great note to end on. And I love that you said, let your why be your reason. One of the
Yes.
things that we talk about in the Freedom Project Academy, one of the very first things in the courses is, what's your why? You have to know what your why is before you do anything, especially if it's something challenging.
Yes.
Um, and just tuning into why it is you need, want, or you need or want the thing, whatever it is, the change, the actual, the tangible thing, the relationship, the whatever, the job. You need to know what your why is. Where is it going to take you? What's it going to do for you? How are you going to use it? And how are you going to spread for others? So I love that
Yeah.
so much.
There was one thing, my mom, she always told me, she's like, Ashley, you always wanted to save the world. Okay. And so I never knew I was going to fall into the WBFF, federation and do all that I do, but they're for women from all over the world. So it's like,
Mhm.
I never just had a short, immediate goal. I dreamed so big. It's like, I wanted to meet people all over the world and talk to them about Jesus. They might not even understand what I'm saying, but that's like a universal language that they understand when we talk about certain things like that, and whenever they see your face and your reaction to it, they get it. And it just kind of blows my mind, because like, you have a dream as a kid and you don't even realize it, and you're going through the world, and then you're like, you really can live your dream. You really can. It's just all about perspective. And yes, it comes with hardships and struggle and all that things, but you have to do the work. And not many people want to do the work. They don't want to slow down and take a breathwork class, or go to therapy, or read a book, or listen to a podcast. But there's so many modalities out there now. Like, I don't listen to music unless I'm just going right to the gym. I'm always listening to podcasts or books. Like that's what I do during my cardio. I probably read 5 books a month. Like no lie, I love it, and I will go through one podcast at a time because that's how I make my list of my dream team list of whose podcast am I going to be on. And I'm just
Yes.
thankful that our paths cross again because you're the first one, and that's just so
Oh,
cool. Like
thank
God
you.
again uses His people to bring it through, and I was like, oh my gosh, I got to do this podcast. I hope it goes well. I hope I say all the right things. And, it just flows so naturally when it's meant to be, you know?
Oh, absolutely. Definitely. For sure. I'm going to tail one of the things that you said, and then we'll close out. Um, to be honest, I don't even know exactly what the words were that you used, but it is, for me, action is the reflection of a decision. You have to just do it. You were talking about the motivation to just get out there and do it and make it happen. And you can sit on your butt and you can sit around with your thumb up your tail, or you can get out and actually make it happen. And you have to decide that that's what you're going to do. There's no
Mm-hmm.
such thing as trying, right?
Right. It's
There's
a
no such thing
victor.
as trying.
You can be a victim of your circumstance, or you can be a victor of your circumstance, or
Exactly.
outcome, you know? You have,
Bingo.
like my pastor says, you have the right to choose, but to choose not to choose, you have still chosen.
Exactly.
Bam.
Exactly.
That's a good ender right
Mic
there.
drop. And with that, folks,
Until next time.
exactly. Thank you so much for coming on. If anybody give us some information on how folks can get in touch with you, I'm going to put it up on the screen so they can read it. And so what is your Instagram, or what's the best way for someone to get in touch with you if they want to work with you, if they just want to interview you, all the things. How can we get in touch with
Yes.
you?
Yeah, Instagram is great. I have Instagram and Facebook, and it's pretty much the same. It's Ashley Reece on Facebook. It's Ashley underscore C, like the ocean, like SEA 7 for Instagram. And then for my business, it's Upstage Beauty INC, which stands for Incorporated on Instagram and Facebook. But you'll also have it down below, but they can contact me any different way. It just takes me a minute, but then I'll get right back to you and connect.
Perfect. Anything else that you want to share before we close out?
Nothing but thank you for all this. And this is a wonderful thing. And I'm just so excited that we can do this together.
Me too. Thank you so much. All right, we will see you soon. And everybody be sure to like and subscribe. And whenever she gets her podcast up and going, you're going to go and you're going to like and subscribe hers as well. And I'll be sure to let you know when that is ready to roll. And until then, y'all fly high, my Phoenix friends.